Ahoy, you salty sailors. Time to raise anchor and set sail for your best scrawny life. Arrgh.
Alright, another fascinating fungal foray unfurls at Kuehn Conservation Area near the town of Redfield, Iowa. Once again, this is an island of forested land in an otherwise ocean of corn, a gem of biodiversity on the mountain of monoculture, a needle of wild timber in a haystack. Well, perhaps you get the idea already. We will descend the first ridge into the valley the drone is over now, which empties into the South Raccoon River, visible in the distance. The forest on the far side of the river is the Pleasant Valley area, which perhaps we could explore on another day. The far side of the valley, this ridge that the drone is facing now, I won't be able to explore that due to my crunchy old knees. I'll simply descend one ridge and ascend the neighboring ridge, so plenty of space left to explore. That ridge looks steep and shady, probably some interesting mushrooms in there, so a lot of land left to explore. For more information, you'll want to check out inaturalist.org. There you can see observations that I've posted in other years and at different times of the year. Across the road is another steep valley, unsuited to agriculture, and manages public hunting land. We'll have a quick peek at that. But first we'll kick things off under the pines with a bolete mushroom. Notice the pore layer underneath the cap with those milky droplets. And of course the dense covering of slime on the cap, indicating that this is Swillus granulatus. It's disgusting enough to deter insects from eating the mushroom or destroying it before it can sporulate. Once again, this is a pine-associated mushroom. There's Sabacina schweinitzii, one of the more common mushrooms, but here one of the least common ones, one of the elfin saddles, the Helvella species, possibly Helvella crispa. Not entirely sure about that one, rarely see these. Phylum Ascomycota, and the order is Pezizales, the cup fungi. Back to the Basidiomycota with our old friend Tylopolis rubrobruneus. Very common here. Another common species is Lactarius samicola. You'll notice the large size and that concentric zoning, the concentric rings in the top of the cap, indicative of samicola. Out of the pines and into the oaks, and it's not long before the first chanterelles appear. Later in the video we'll have a quick look at a yellow-capped russula, which could possibly be mistaken for a chanterelle, although the gills are different. A little bit more Sabacina schweinitzii on the ground as well. And here we are with the Russula virescens, which we've seen in another video. The green russula. Again, these species are mycorrhizal partners with the big oaks. And this big oak has a golden girlfriend, the lady chanterelle. Cantharellus flavus with its yellow stem in this particular case. I'm visiting the area in early July when I knew there would be a large flush of chanterelles. But later in the year, different species will appear. This is a good park for hydnum species, hedgehog mushrooms. Here we can see those false gills, the thickened blunt ridges on the underside of the chanterelle caps. That, along with the vase shape or funnel shape of the mushroom, are key identifying factors in distinguishing that mushroom from potential poisonous lookalikes. There's another look at the vase or funnel shape and the false gills, the hymeneal structure of the chanterelles. Here we are with another bolete. This looks to be Hemilixinum subglabripes, has the yellow stem, the brown cap, and the yellow pore layer. It does not stain, so possibly Hemilixinum subglabripes. We would probably need to take a spore print or examine the spores microscopically to be able to eliminate potential lookalikes. This is one of the grisette amanitas, typically a mycorrhizal species, although they've chosen to fruit in this meadow for better spore dispersal. Here we have one of the ergot species, possibly Claviceps purpurea. It does produce a nasty case of poisoning if consumed by humans or animals. Here we can see from quite some distance a very large lobster mushroom. Now this of course is a Russula brevipes that has been parasitized by Hypomyces lactiflorum and has become deformed into this shape that you see here. Although this is an unusually large one, probably the biggest lobster mushroom I've ever found. And growing right beside the trail. Gotta love it when that happens. Here's a more normal sized group of lobsters nearby. There you can see some of the distortion of the fruiting body that occurs as the Hypomyces takes over. Here we have Lactifluus volemus, another mycorrhizal species that deters insect damage by exuding a liquid. So if the thought of accidentally eating some gnat larva upsets you, this might be one of the species you would like to learn. Here's a very small, early Lactifluus pipperatus. Generally these mushrooms are much larger, although the white color and that enrolled cap margin are typical morphological features. Oops, I dropped my droplet there. Not to worry, it has a little bit more latex in there. Would take a tiny droplet and taste it. Sorry for the mouth noises here. This is about the amount of time that that the reaction takes to occur. It produces a hot chili pepper type of burning. So there's everything a scrawny lifer does, he does the hard way. And that is the hard way of identifying a mushroom. Now here we have a mushroom that could be named in several different ways. The reticulation on the stem is somewhat variable with these. Notice the red cap, red pore layer underneath the cap, and mostly red on the stem. The flesh of the mushroom is yellow and immediately stains blue upon contact. This is an oak-associated mycorrhizal species, which would distinguish it from the pine-associated species known as Boletus flamans. Now, of course, like any bolete, these can be infected with Hypomyces chrysospermus mold to produce these strangely distorted fruiting bodies. You know you're deep in the uncanny valley when you see something like that. Very strange. There's some difficulty in identifying some of the rubescens style, the red staining amanitas we have here. No real reason to mess with amanita mushrooms at all. This oak tree, generally white oaks have wide spreading lower branches. This one has been pruned or some of the branches have fallen off, resulting in a profusion of these small water sprout branches. It looks like there could be some dead branches higher in the tree too, so possibly there could be a fungal pathogen involved. In either case, one of its associates, in the form of Chanterelles flavus, has decided to send up some fruiting bodies. Let's quickly review the Dunning-Kruger effect, that tendency which all people share to be overconfident when given just a small amount of knowledge. Where you work, does everyone think their own job is really technical and demanding, but everyone else's job is easy? It's important not to rely on a single source of information. Even the best field guide can only show you 1 or 2 photographs of a given species of mushroom, whereas a website like iNaturalist.org can show you 1,000 photographs of that mushroom and allow you to cross-reference for poisonous lookalikes. And even that should not be your only source of information. Also, do not allow yourself to behave in an overconfident way. The first time you eat any species of mushroom, start with a very small amount, let's say 1 or 2 cubic inches, and then wait until the next day to gauge your reaction to it. These escargots are very confident about this mushroom, but humans are quite different than mollusks or insects or even other mammals. Just because a different animal can eat a certain species of mushroom without harm does not mean that a human can. These black trumpets, for instance, closely resemble chanterelles phallax, but without taking a spore print, I could not 100% distinguish them from some closely related species. I did tear off a fingernail-sized piece of one of them, chewed it for a while and spit it out, and the next day did not have any adverse reaction. Could you, for instance, distinguish these mushrooms from, let's say, the devil's urn, an ascomycete cup fungus that is also funnel-shaped and black? Now, anyone who understands the difference between ascomycetes and basidiomycetes would know that these are basidiomycete fungi and therefore not possibly the devil's urn. But your knowledge needs to be at that level of detail, and you need to be on guard against overconfidence. So we'll have a quick peek at this steep, shady ridge on the other side of the road. Isn't that a marvelous sight? It's an illusion, though. I mean, I've driven for an hour to reach this place from Des Moines, and it's been all corn until I got here. There are no maintained trails in this public hunting area, and in places it can be densely shaded with eastern red cedars, which mushrooms kind of like in certain circumstances, but it also makes it very difficult to move around. There's a saprotrophic jelly fungus, and here, of course, we have the mycorrhizal chanterelle emerging from the ground instead of emerging from fallen wood. In general, there seem to be more chanterelles but fewer boletes in the forest on this side of the road. But I didn't explore very far. Here we have another edible mushroom, Lactifluus volemus, the voluminous latex milky, a decent edible mushroom. One that's fairly easy to identify by the amount of latex, the smell, and the stain that the latex produces after it dries. Which brings up another thing to bear in mind. Don't rely on morphological features alone, the color or the shape of the mushroom. You'll want to know something more about it. How does it behave? Where does it grow? Does it exude a liquid? Does it have a smell? Does it produce a stain? Things like that. Now, at the bottom of the ridge, in this steep, shady area with mosses and ferns, I found another black trumpet species that I wasn't 100% sure of. This could be Craterellus cinereus, I think. It has some more developed veins, very similar to the false gills of a chanterelle on the underside. But I was not 100% sure what the species there was. A rare find in a kind of a rare north-facing slope type of scenario. Also found another one of those hygroscopic conicas there, and this is possibly Russula ochroluca. One that we'll see more of those later on in the year. And this Lactarius species I was not 100% sure of either. I'm not even quite sure if those two photographs represent the same species. I think so. But this one I'm quite sure is Lexinellum rugosaceps. and we'll catch you next time.